All right, so we're gonna be getting into it. So with Will Smith, so discussing that, pretty much everybody's already kind of seen what happened, everything like that. Chris Rock telling a joke, GI Jane joke. Then Will Smith,
Mm-hmm.
went up and slapped Chris Rock for it. Um, and it's funny, like seeing people with the footage. They've been going like reversing it, fast forwarding, zooming in. They treat it like it's the Kennedy assassination. You know what I mean? Like I saw even one where somebody was talking about you see Jada Smith smiling. They said that, but it was clickbait because I clicked on the video and it was just the back of her head. So I don't know how the fuck you could tell she's smiling from the back. Like when she, so I was like, that was really weird. And then just after all this thing happened, it just like all these different angles that people are coming at from it. And just like a lot of of course Twitter people gonna have weird takes. And just get
Shocker.
absolutely deranged. So
Shocker.
I'm gonna be bringing up a lot of that too. A lot of the weirdest tweets I've seen about the entire incident. But so was anybody here watching live when the moment happened?
I was pretty much I was at work when it was happening, but I was like following along on mine and Hunter's group chat of just y'all losing your mind whenever the slap happened. And I was literally going on to like Google. Was wait, did he actually fucking slap him?
Mm.
Yeah, that was weird to see live because I looked at my partner because I was high as hell watching the Oscars, and I was like, I'm like, babe, you saw that, right? Like he slapped him, right? And she's like, yeah, yeah, and I was like, oh shit, and then the reality started setting in of, oh wow, Chris Rock just got slapped on stage in front of millions of people by the guy who literally has a song on one of his rap albums called Mr. Nice Guy, Will Smith. It's like, wow, that's some shit. This is a weird year already. So
Yeah. Dusk, what about you? Would you watch it live at all or no? Just curious.
No, I was at work at the time.
Oh, okay. And when did you hear about it? Did you hear about it just like at work on social media, or did you?
Oh, I heard about it at work.
Mm.
I heard about it the moment after it happened. There was a lot of talk about it.
Mm.
Yeah, the slap heard around
Pretty
the
much.
world.
Reese, what about you?
I wasn't watching. I just heard about it on social media, and I was like, "What is happening?" And then all of a sudden, my entire feed became that. So I was like, "Okay, I guess something happened."
And what was your like?
It was like 3 seconds 3 seconds after, and the memes started coming in,
Oh, people were
just
so quick.
flooding the internet.
So quick.
yeah. And what were
It's
your?
like 2 seconds later, and then somebody edited, "Everybody hates Chris."
yeah, the internet works quick, man.
And then what was kind of your initial thoughts, Reese, when it happened?
Uh, my initial thought was confusion.
Hmm.
So I'm like, why is Will Smith slapping people? First of all, I mean, if anyone deserves a slap, it is Chris Rock. But I digress. It's just he kind of has this brand about him, like he's so approachable, he's quote unquote safe, and then all of a sudden he's slapping people at the Academy Awards, and I was like, is this real? Like, I wasn't sure if it was something that was part of the show. Like, again, I wasn't watching, so I wasn't sure if they staged it or if that was something that just kind of happened on the fly. I had no idea what was going on, so I just kind of had to sift through all of the weirdness on social media because everybody had their takes, everybody kind of had their opinions on whether or not it was staged, and I had no idea what was going on.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, everybody's got their takes. When it happened, I thought, like, when I heard it, on Twitter, and then it kind of blew up, and I thought at first it was like a skit, like they were doing like a skit, and a lot of people, even live in the audience, thought the same thing, like they were interviewing John Leguizamo, and he said, like, yeah, I thought it was a skit at first, what they were doing, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, no, wait, it's not. So I think, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I thought he shouldn't have hit him. I thought, absolutely he shouldn't have hit him. Anybody disagree with that?
No.
No, it's assault. People, it's assault. Why is it so hard for people to wrap around their goddamn minds? Like you can say something terrible, and yeah, it's fucking terrible. But I can't just you can't slap everyone who pisses you off. That's how the Hunger Games starts. Like, for fuck's sake, people.
Yeah. But I will say that I do think the reaction to it is a little an over exaggeration. And what I mean by that, so I'm gonna just like I said, I'm gonna pull up some kind of tweets here, and then most of these are kind of from celebrities, which is also funny seeing celebrities get involved and seeing Twitter get on their ass for them getting involved. Like, that's also been amazing.
Yeah.
And Reese knows, like, especially with her girl got it bad. I think worse than any of the other celebrities. And it's my girl too. I mean, I can't lie. And it was Zoe Kravitz. I was like, oh boy.
No.
You should have, and she didn't. I mean, it was like, oh, but we're gonna be getting to her in a minute. So this is from Judd Apatow right here. Now, he deleted this tweet, but he said, he could have killed him. That's pure out of control rage and violence that
Shit.
Bitch! Tell me you've never been punched in the face before without telling me you've never been punched in the face before.
They've heard a million jokes about them in the last 3 decades. They are not freshmen in the world of Hollywood. He lost his mind. Okay, so the issue I have there with that one is just that he could have killed him. That's a way over exaggeration.
It is.
I mean, you could say, like, okay, yeah, what he did, that was crazy moment, disturbing, yeah, that was wrong, but could have killed him? Really? I just, yeah, I mean, that to me, that take is, yeah, I just think it's too much. Dusk, what kind of you think about that one?
That specific take, killed or not killed, the stride in which he took to possibly create more acts of violence. I mean, in a really angry mind, I mean, it depends on how well your control is. The act of slapping someone across the face, no. Realistically speaking, unless you have a very, very delicate physique, and the fall's going to kill you more than anything else, depending on where you fall.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I see a lot of people defending on Twitter, defending it. Oh, he was just standing up for his wife, standing up for this. Twofold. First, regardless of which, it's still assault. That doesn't change the paradigms.
Thank you.
And two,
cool motive, still assault.
It's still assault. Cool, got you. Understand that. That's right. And two, that is debatable. Defending his wife is debatable.
Yeah.
It was just a G.I. Jane joke. Like, wasn't even like Chris's like super top joke. He's so worse. And heck, even before the night, they the Amy Schumer.
Yep.
They poked at the whole open marriage thing. They poked at that.
Yep.
That bear, and they didn't get assaulted. So I don't know. What is it? An attack defending his wife, or was he defending his ego? It depends. We don't know the internal relationship, what's going on. All I know is, based on that stride, based on that moment, and where anger comes from multiple different areas. And that could have easily just been the final straw that broke the back, and he just marinated on that, or got a look from his wife, and that was just a shit, and that was just it broke, and he's just like, I have to elevate this because something else isn't working in my life, and I'm frustrated, and I have to do this now. But he couldn't control himself to do so. Yeah.
She basically gave a look that said, "Hey, do something about this, or I'm calling August again."
Rusted, 17.
That's a whole other situation that I'm not even going to get into. Regardless how you feel about that of a polygamous relationship, regardless how you feel on that, that's like what's going on between them is a whole other issue. And I think it would be very difficult I think it'd be very hard to debate that it's a healthy one going on. I even if you were like totally for or understanding with that, and I'm not saying I'm against it, I'm not even saying I'm for. I look at it purely from middle standpoint, just looking as a fact of what we have. Yeah, man, it's just a situation where something is going on. And it ended with an assault because he wasn't able to contain some anger, and a part of me feels bad that he had to even have that amount of anger for him to even have that moment. But other part of me is, well, it's one thing to be angered and be like mutter or get like really pissed off and sit down and sit down. Camera's not on you at the moment, hopefully. And even if it was, that would just be like another mean mugging moment. That's fine. You can live that down, or you just excuse yourself and you leave.
Yeah.
That was also fine. But no, he chose to stand up, get on stage, and walk up to Chris, slap him in the face, and then walk away.
Yeah.
That took a lot of effort to do so.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the way, so part of the reason why I thought it was sketch, because the way he walked away, it was kind of like he was in Wild Wild West again. Like he had like a little bit of, like, it was like
he had that pimp stride.
Yeah, I was like, wow.
Whoa, that's not fair.
It was like Peter Parker dancing to James Brown strut going on a little bit.
Okay, that's not fair. The acting here was way better than Wild Wild West. Okay.
I mean, why? Nobody likes Wild West. Wild West. Nobody likes that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and then the reason Judd Apatow, the reason he deleted that tweet, is because somebody, they quote tweeted him, and they went like, oh, but James Franco was on the set of Freaks and Geeks, and he pushed down Busy Phillips, and you didn't do anything about that, and then that's when he deleted his tweet after somebody said that to him. And there's there's an article, Busy Phillips. She talks about how her and I think Variety, they did an article. Busy Phillips, she was also another fellow actor on the set of Freaks and Geeks, and that was like the first thing that main thing Judd Apatow is known for doing is Freaks and Geeks. They only lasted one season, and she said that him and James Franco, they hated each other, and then at one point on set he screamed in her face and threw her down on the ground. And that he never faced any repercussions for doing that. So somebody brought that up. Then that's when he deleted his tweet. So that's kind of what happened there. The one with kind of Zoe Kravitz, she just posted, her and her outfit.
She literally just posted her in her outfit looking, fine as hell, and saying it's like at this party where I guess it's okay to assault people on live TV.
Yeah.
Man, she's not wrong.
And then that's when the receipts came. I mean, it got so bad they even dragged her daddy into it. Her daddy didn't even do it. Her daddy was like, "I'm over here. I'm living my life."
And Lenny Kravitz is just sitting on his fucking like little hut in the fucking Bahamas. Like, wait, what the fuck am I? What did I do?
And what they brought up,
why are you gonna go my way? Why are you gonna go my way?
So what they brought up with Zoe Kravitz was like, well, isn't this you when you talked about being sexually attracted to a 14-year-old Jaden Smith? Come on! And then they also talked about how didn't you used to date Michael Fassbender, who's got domestic kind of abuse charges against him? That happened. They said I think it was his ex-girlfriend said that that he physically assaulted her. Also, aren't you friends with Alexander Wang, who's got domestic charges against him as well? So yeah,
they're all a bunch of hypocrites, and it's all a bunch of hypocrites. Come on, man.
This is how it works now, though, y'all, and this is why. I've talked to Nick about this many times off mic. This is why I just say my shit and just kind of let the chips fall they may, because this is exactly what happens. You can never have a conversation or chip in on anything without someone going, well, back in 2010, you said this, and it's like, oh my fucking God. And then you have to defend yourself on that, so you're no longer talking about the actual issue. And it's insane to, like, the one celebrity who shouldn't have said shit was Alec Baldwin, because...
Yeah, because I'm literally tweeting. It's like, didn't you kill somebody earlier this year?
Yeah, that was the one celebrity I was like,
why does he even have a Twitter still?
Yeah,
like he should have just like
why?
That should have been deleted.
delete that shit. Just
Or
go
hidden.
underground for a while.
Also, to
Yeah.
amend your point, 2010 was what, 12 years ago? Oh my
Yeah.
God! It's not like someone can change in 12 years.
And that's the thing, y'all. Like, I do believe. Now, look, I mean, there are obviously cases like Mel Gibson where it's like, why does he still have a career? But at the same time, though, if you do something fucked, you need to just go ahead and do what you can to like make amends for it and then move on. But we're in this culture now where being sorry is not enough. Like, we have to like nuke the person's career, and the problem
You basically have to
is,
crucify them.
yeah, and the problem
We're
is
just going
that
back to crucifixion.
crucifixion.
Going
Yeah,
back to that shit.
Crucifixion.
well, yeah,
Crucifixion. Yeah.
But at this point, though, it's like there's no room to actually let someone grow, and the people who have no intention on actually bettering themselves, Chris Brown, are still allowed to have careers. And I go, okay, so it's okay over here, but over here it's not. There's no consistency with the shit, which is why, like, at some point, it's like, what's the fucking point of this if we're actually not going to hold everyone to the same rules, which obviously has never been a thing, but I think y'all get what I'm saying. And look, let's call it what it is. This was two people of color in front of millions of people fucking wilding. And it's one of those things where I just go, look, I fully acknowledge my sense of humor is very spicy at points, but the thing is, whether you like what someone says or not, you can't just fucking hit them. And if Will Smith really wanted to do that, why not do that at a fucking after party where there's way less cameras? Like,
fewer cameras, and you're not stealing the spotlight away from Questlove and company, who were about to get the award for best documentary.
And that's what I'll be real. The fact that he slaps a person of color and then takes away from a fellow person of color's moment, I just went, you selfish mother. Because let's be real, we all pretty much, like, if you had to bet on it, you would have probably bet that Will Smith was winning this past Sunday. Like, it was pretty much known that he was going to win. So he has to be aware of that. So you're sitting there going, all you have to do is keep your black ass in check for 5 minutes and you get a fucking award. The award that you have been, let's call it what it is, campaigning for since what, 99?
Yeah.
98? Like,
and
this.
Let's also be fair. Once he got the Oscar, he could have just come back with like a funny jip and verbal wise. He didn't have to escalate it to that degree. He could just been like, well, Chris is a JJ, and he could have said some joke like, "Well, you still want one of these?" And then just left.
Yeah, and the thing is, the fact he gave that speech about being a vessel of love, I was sitting there, I was like, "Fuck you, dude! You don't get to slap someone."
Tears.
Yeah, you don't get to oh man, I'm gonna have to go here. It reminded me of when Chris Brown did the whole Man in the Mirror live performance, and he's crying. I'm sorry. I was like, and the amount of black women who were like, we forgive you, Chris. I'm like, really? You're all falling for this shit? And Will's whole speech was so disingenuous. I would just roll my eyes the whole time and talking about how Richard Williams wanted to defend his family, and I'm just like, oh, you mean really? You mean by leaving them in the middle of the street in downtown Compton when the night before gangbangers threatened to rape his kids? You mean that's how he defended his family? Like, oh wow, you both can go fuck yourselves. And he will never get over this. And the reason I say that is because anytime anyone brings up this award, it's the first thing they're gonna bring up. This moment will always be tied to that award, and ironically enough, tied to his legacy. And let's call it what it is. He's got the Oscar now, regardless whether we like it or not. But Will Smith is right now about building his legacy as an actor. Like, he already was the biggest star in Hollywood. He had that position. But this is a huge stain on his legacy. Like,
thank you.
It's kind of nuts.
Javon Good for the 100 bits, man. Thank you.
It's just kind of nuts how in one moment with one fatal swoop, this will always be tied to him, whether you think he was in the right or not. Like, this will always be a thing with him now.
So I'm gonna go to Reese real quick, and I'll just say thank you, Javon Good, for the subscription. So Reese, Did you think the joke? What did you think of the joke, first of all?
Okay, so I have a lot of thoughts on this entire thing,
Please.
and sorry, it's probably not going to be quick, but
Please.
I gotta say
No,
what I gotta
please.
say.
Please.
We got time.
So again, just laying it out here.
Mm.
Do I think Will Smith was right to do what he did? No, and I think that's a pretty cut and dry issue across the board.
Mhm.
Do I think Chris Rock is blameless in this situation? Also, no. He has a history of making, especially black women,
Mm.
the butt of his jokes in white spaces, and that's a problem. And I think not enough people are
Mhm.
talking about that.
Mm.
He didn't have to target her specifically, especially given that she just came out about her alopecia. He didn't have to come
Mhm.
out and make a comment about her physical appearance, but everybody else said something about, their work or a movie they were in or something that they did, not their physical being. The joke itself, that the whole GI Jane thing, usually is used against women to make them feel like they're not feminine enough. It goes back all the way to the 90s, which I don't know why he brought up GI Jane because half the people watching this damn show are not gonna know what the fuck that movie is. It came out like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's just like that's what people used to say to women, especially with shaved heads, to make them seem like they're less feminine, to make them seem like they're less desirable in their eyes. For him to go back that far to such an outdated movie that's not even relevant in order to make this joke, which it wasn't even funny. Like, I'm not
Right.
sure what he was doing with it in the first place, but it's just like she just came out and he's close enough to the Smiths to know that this is an issue. And she just came out publicly and said, "Hey, I have this disorder. Hey, you know what? I'm going to embrace my bald head. I'm going to work towards, making it okay for everyone to feel good about themselves regardless of if they have disability, what have you." And then here he goes and decides, "Yeah, I'm going to make fun of her head." And people are arguing back and forth, "Oh, he didn't know. He didn't know." Again, if you know the history of Chris Rock and the Smiths, this goes back to I think about 2016, where he made another joke about Jada just not showing up to the Oscars because she felt like Will should have been nominated, which I disagree with that, but that's another discussion. But he's been poking and prodding at them for a long time, and they've kind of had this back and forth, and he knows in detail a lot of the stuff that's going on with the Smiths. So for him to go out of his way, and there's been a debate as to whether or not this was even rehearsed in the first place or if he was just doing this off the
Mhm.
cuff, went out of his way to call out Jada about her physical appearance in front of a bunch of white people and internationally and decided, yeah, that was okay. And then Will, who I think his default reaction to things is just to, "Hey, I'm cool, I'm hip, I'm happening, everything's good." He laughed at the joke because really, objectively, the joke is somewhat innocuous compared to the other things that Chris Rock has said in the past. But
Mhm.
basically, he's just like, okay, he has a history of a lot of things between he and his wife that people have been talking about. He maybe felt a little embarrassed with the whole entanglement thing, and it just became a perfect storm of emotions because he's sitting there laughing. He's probably on a really short leash with Jada as it is. He turns to look at
Mhm.
her, and she is not impressed with the joke,
Yeah.
and nor should she be, honestly. So at this point, he has a choice. He either decides to do nothing and then, become more of a subject of all of the jokes and whatnot because it's like, well, you don't even say anything about, your wife getting called out and this is why she's stepping out on you. Or he can do the Will Smith thing, act cool about it and do nothing. And I think at this point, it's a mix. I don't necessarily think he was trying to defend his wife's honor, so to speak. I think this is more for him an attack on his identity and his attack an attack on his brand. And I feel like with everything that's been circulating about their relationship, he kind of feels out of control in a way. And that one lapse of judgment, he decided I'm gonna lash out. I'm gonna show everybody I'm not this nice guy. I'm big and bad, and stop talking about me. And it completely backfired. So for him, it's super unfortunate to see because he's put so much work into his brand. He's put so much work into being, I
Mhm.
guess, quote unquote, the approachable, safe black actor. Which again, we really shouldn't have to go out of our way to appear approachable and safe to people who already have their preconceived notions about us. That's incredibly detrimental to our mental health, and it's not fair that we, especially black people, always have to, put on this face or be excellent or be twice as good to get half as much. That's not fair. And that's not our burden to bear. And he's done that his entire life. And now you see the result of how quick people can flip on you, regardless of how nice and approachable you are. And again, I'll say he wasn't right to hit him. He wasn't. But at the same time, I kind of understand how that frustration bubbles up over time. And, you have to keep up this facade for so long, and it's exhausting, especially after all of the talk of his relationship. That really, between the two of them, I think they share too much. I think the two of them need to I think the two of them need to exercise discretion and just keep a lot of their relationship stuff under wraps. Because even I, at one point, I was like, these guys again, like they're talking about this shit again. They don't need to broadcast this on Red Table Talk. If that's something that they're doing between the two of them, let them have it. But like, I don't know, they can't really complain that people are talking about their relationship. But as far as, again, Chris Rock talking about Black women, making them the butt of the joke, especially in white spaces, that's a problem. And like I said before, I don't feel sorry for him that he got slabbed. I don't think it was the right place, right time, or even right in context. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, you had this coming. You were sitting here with two white comedians not that long ago, telling them to say the N-word with the hard R and laughing about it.
Right.
Like, he
And
loves to
you're
shut the time for white people all the time.
Right.
And we're supposed to just be okay with it. And finally somebody's like, no, like, this is not cool. We don't appreciate being the butt of this. And then this all happened. Obviously it's not ideal, but I really don't feel sorry for him.
right. And you're
Sorry, Hunter, I know
referencing
you're trying to
No.
yeah, you're referencing
you're good.
the clip with when he was with Louis C.K. and Ricky Gervais and Jerry Seinfeld,
Yeah.
and they were doing the whole
Yeah.
interview there. And then Louis C.K. and
Yeah, and
Ricky
Chris Rock
Ricky Gervais
Gervais.
both say the N word
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, Chris Rock knew it. Like, he had an entire documentary talking about Black women's hair and all the scrutiny and struggle behind it. And then here he goes again being I was gonna say something, but I'm not gonna say it.
Mm.
I think you guys know where I was going, and it's just like, at what point does he get the message here? Like, I don't know. It's just not worth it to me what he's doing.
Do
So
you think he's too ingrained in it to do otherwise? Do you think that's too much of the thing, like what he's done a lot to
I don't
change
feel
at
like
this
anyone is
point?
too ingrained into anything. I think it's just ultimately a choice of whether you want to be a better person at your craft or not. He's seen that this has worked for him for this long,
Mm.
and he really doesn't want to change with the times. Same problem that Dave Chappelle kind of has right now.
That's what I was trying to
And
ask about that
yeah,
aspect on it.
yeah, it's very much his choice. It's very much up to him to decide, hey, these types of jokes don't work anymore. Like, times have changed. It's a lot more awareness, especially when it comes to disabilities and just cultural differences. And he's sitting here making a joke about it being like 30 years ago for no reason. It's just like, none of it had to happen to me. And it's so strange that this all played out the way that it did, because just like one momentary lapse of judgment on both parts created a huge thing, and it really shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
I think if we heard about this, if Will and him got into an altercation backstage, I don't think this would have made that much news, to be honest. But it's just, the Oscars is regarded as such a prestigious event, and I kind of had a back and forth with a few people about this with regards to, oh, well, Will is a representation of Black people and he's setting us all back by doing this. I refuse to carry forward that narrative. I refuse. We're never given the benefit of the doubt as Black people. It's always, oh, well, this one Black person did this, so all of you must be the same way. I'm like, no, he's his own person. I'll be damned if he decides to do something bad and that reflects badly on all of us. Like, we haven't made so many progressions as far as, just fighting against structural inequality, medical things. We as a people have done so much, and we've fought so much, and we've progressed so much, that for it to be ruined by one Black celebrity, I think is a ridiculous assertion. And I think we need to stop making it seem like one or two certain celebrities represent all of us, or one or two celebrities make us all look bad, so that justifies the way that people treat us. Like, it doesn't. And I think that's just like the biggest problem I've had with this entire conversation, is that they already had the preconceived notions about Black people. Nothing that we do is going to change that. They have to want to change that themselves. It's not up to us to present ourselves in a way that makes them comfortable in order to get the absolute bare minimum as far as treatment is concerned. It's not. And I'm tired of, especially other Black people, perpetuating that narrative. Like, oh, well, he's sending us back. No, he's not. No, he's not. He made a mistake. He's a person. Freaking John Wayne went up to fight a woman, an indigenous woman, at the Oscars because she had the audacity to ask for equal rights. Several people had to go and hold him back. Does that reflect on all white people? So ask yourself, why does that reflect somehow on all Black people when Will Smith makes the same mistake? Was he wrong? Yes. But that's not a reflection on all of us. And we need to stop perpetuating that narrative. That was my biggest gripe this whole week, is that somehow all of a sudden now Black people look bad to everyone, and I think that's bullshit.
That is pretty bullshit.
With the thing, so you bring up the John Wayne situation. A lot of people bringing that up because a lot of people were tweeting like with the hashtag worst Oscar moment ever. Which again, I think I don't think this
we all saw the year James Franco hosted.
Yeah, that's true. I think that was actually worse. Actually, but like as far as and people were saying like I don't think this even reaches the top 5 because you have like situations where Michael Moore was booed when he protested the Iraq War and everybody booed him there. You had situations like the John Wayne. You had situations like the actress who won for Gone with the Wind and she wasn't even allowed in the building to even accept the award.
Yeah.
You know, you've had situations that gave a standing ovation to Roman Polanski. You know, and you know, for me, in my perspective, you know, seeing what happened. And people seeing, and I've been talking to a lot of different people about it, trying to get a lot of different perspectives, arguing with some people, not gonna lie, you know what I mean? Having some heated discussions, you know, passionate discussions. And, you know, having these discussions, trying to get people's viewpoint. First of all, I don't see the Oscars. I mean, I get that it's supposed to be this prestigious event, but I think aren't most people kind of hasn't the glamour of Hollywood and celebrities now have worn off what people see for these people who they truly are? You know what I mean? You know, the fact that they cover up for rapists and pedophiles and, you know, other people who've done heinous shit as well, racist and domestic abusers and things like that. So I don't have this illusion about Hollywood or the Oscars or anything like that, or the fact they'll do what they need to do to keep things hush hush. And even these stories coming about when after he slapped Chris Rock, it's like, well, we asked him to leave, and then there's claims that they didn't ask him to leave, and then there's claims that that we talked to Chris Rock first, and Chris Rock said, okay, no, don't ask him to leave, and so there's been conflicting claims there about exactly what happened directly. And they did an interview with Will Packer, and Will Packer said that, well, we wanted him to leave, but we asked Chris Rock, and he said that no, don't make the situation worse, and everything like that. And then people saying like, this is just. You know, again, I think it goes to like the overreaction, which I see with some of the tweets, like, this is just disgusting, and this moment is heinous, and I have to explain to my kids, and kids were watching. It's like, first of all, why are you letting your 9-year-old even watch the Oscars? That shit's boring as hell. Let them watch some cartoons. Turn on some Encanto. Turn on some Mitchell. No kid wants to see no goddamn musical, boring-ass musicals and stuffy people. It's like, no. You know what I mean? Like, why are you even doing it? It's like, and a slap is... I don't think it's like the worst things kids have probably been exposed. I mean, especially now with social media, where we see people get hit and beat up a lot.
The internet, man.
You know,
if they went up, if Will went up and did like a boxing match, that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I can I jump in real quick? So okay. Here's the thing, y'all. Like, yes, if he obviously punched him, yes, that would be 1,000 times worse. That's not the point here, though.
Exactly.
The fact is that an act of violence, and again, it doesn't really fucking matter if you think Chris Rock was out of line or not. You realize how many times, like, I think the amount of times I've been called the N-word or had it said in my vicinity and I've wanted to slap someone, I didn't get a fucking trophy 5 minutes later. Like, Will Smith needed to keep his ass in line. And I'm sorry, as much as Jada talks on those red table talks, she couldn't have yelled at something at Chris Rock if she was offended. Like, I'm sorry, y'all. Like, I understand that some people are like, it's not fair to Will Smith because of his nice guy persona. That's a persona he's leaned into his whole career. Like he's leaned into that. Like that wasn't something the media did because he started off as a rapper and people forget that. But ever since he was rapping, he's leaned into that persona and has had multiple times and multiple chances to offset that. Even when you go back to something like Hancock and he's like, no, 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 I don't want to cross this line because of my persona. So at some point, and look, I understand he's been like a huge butt of the joke the last 18 months or so of like the crying memes and all that. But that's something in your marriage, man. Like, say what you will about Chris Rock, like you can't take out the faults of your marriage on someone who's making a joke about it, whether you like the joke or not. And at the end of the day, I watched that Red Table Talk that they did, and my biggest takeaway was, goddamn, y'all just have some issues you need to work on. And clearly they're not. And here's the thing, and I don't think anyone's really bringing this up. The joke was not what set him over the edge. I don't think we'll actually ever know what truly set him over the edge, because this is the joke was clearly the last, like the straw. But there's clearly a lot of other straws that even after that Red Table Talk we're not aware of. Right. And I think that weirdly is the most tragic thing, because this is clearly just a man who just fucking snapped, and it's one of those things that sucks, because again, like, yes, to Reese's point, there will always, like, Hollywood was built on fucking racism, for fuck's sake. Like there has been, and unfortunately probably always will be, those people who have those views about us and the way that they look at us, no matter how much we excel, which sucks. But at the same time, though, again, when you are an actor of color, to quote King Richard, the film itself, when you step out there, you're going to be representing every black girl in the world. That's a talk he has with her when she's, what, 12? And it's like, dude, self-awareness. Like, again, is that fair to her? Absolutely fucking not. But I can pretty much guarantee you any person of color, especially a black person, has had that talk in some way, shape, or form. I had that talk when I was 12, unfortunately. And again, is it fair? Absolutely fucking not. And it's completely unfair to have that pressure put on us. But it's pressure that's there. And at the end of the day, again, I feel bad for Will. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, but do you think that mentality, that pressure, because it's just like, we were talking about Atlanta last week, and with the first episode of Atlanta, we brought up, there was some historical facts in that episode, and one of them being Lake Lanier. And then situations like Lake Lanier happened because of one black person who did something, and they were like, well, okay, let's go burn down the entire town. Now we got full reign to do that. So do you think that mentality is people stuck in the past of reflecting? It's like, one black person, that's dangerous for all of us, and that fear from white people, the white mob, and not actually us.
So I have not caught up on Atlanta yet. So I'm on season 3. I just haven't started yet. So that's tomorrow. But what I will say is, how do I want to put this? It's one of those things I personally always feel the weight of, but I think that's where. I'm trying to think of how I actually want to phrase this. It's always something that's there, but at the same time, there's nothing wrong with acknowledging it's there. Because, to Reese's point, I would love a world where that's just not a fucking thing, where I could, not have to have that mindset. But I don't know if that's a mindset that's going to go away in like 2 generations. Like I think.
So this is a discussion specifically that I've had with someone who thought exactly the same thing. It's like, well, this shouldn't be a big utopian fantasy. Being treated with basic respect, being given the benefit of the doubt, like literally every other race of people on this planet. We're not asking too much just to expect to be treated the same way. We're not.
No.
And too many black people, we see all of the struggles that we go through on a daily basis. We see all of the systemic barriers. We see people who look like us getting shot and killed and getting no justice for it. We see it time and time and time and time again. And I understand how that can erode on basically our sense of hope that anything can. But at the same time, in order for other people to treat us how we want to be treated, we need to treat each other with that same leniency. We need to
Yeah.
give each other the same benefit of the doubt that we give when, let's say, a white person goes and shoots up a school. Do we think that all white people are going to shoot up schools? Not necessarily. We're given the benefit of the doubt.
Not necessarily.
I'm not exactly what you know what I'm
Listen.
saying.
I gotta admit.
I know what you're saying.
I gotta admit.
Everybody else gets the benefit of the doubt. Everybody else gets to be treated as individuals except for us, and we keep perpetuating it. We look at this situation and we're like, well, Will represents us. No, he does not. Will is a rich celebrity. Will worked for whatever it is that he has. He got what he has against all of the odds. Great. But he is the exception, and it shouldn't be that way.
I agree.
We need to stop looking at celebrities and billionaires or whatever who happen to be Black and expect that they're going to be a representation of all of us. Like, that's not fair, one, to them, and that's not fair to us either, because if they slip up, then all of a sudden we're all vilified. That doesn't make any sense. Why do we keep doing it to ourselves? Why do we keep thinking, oh, well, I would love to live in a world where people don't look at my skin color and decide A, B, C, and D about me? Why is it that it seems to work for every other race, but for some reason for us, we can't have that? It's not something we have to earn. It's the absolute bare fucking minimum. And I'm tired of this mentality like, oh, we're never going to get there. We're never going to get there. Not with that attitude. No, you're not.
No,
we have to look at our own people. Like, yeah, we can make mistakes. We can have slip ups. And that doesn't mean we're a representation of every Black person. That mentality is upheld by us, and it's perpetuated by non-Black people. The only way that changes is if we start with us. If we look at each other and say, hey, you know what? This celebrity who is also Black messed up. That doesn't mean that all of us are brutes or thugs like people have been calling Will as a result of this. That doesn't mean that we're less worthy of being in these spaces, because we absolutely are. That doesn't mean that we're less prestigious. That doesn't mean that we're less of anything compared to any other race. But we need to recognize that we do this to ourselves. We keep looking at people who look like us, and we decide all of a sudden that they represent us no matter what they do. Keep that same energy for someone like Kanye. Why is it that Kanye,
I agree.
you're clearly having a mental break, clearly being an abusive partner, but we just let it go because he's Kanye?
A lot of people shit on Kanye.
So yeah, but the reason why, though, to answer your question on that, and this is part of the problem, but we could talk about this for hours, is that when we do see a person of color make it, we're so quick to defend them no matter what they do. Which, I mean, let's be real, we're seeing that with Will Smith. Part of the problem is that we're not holding ourselves and the people that, quote, represent us, unquote, we're not holding them accountable. This is a conversation I've had with Nick about Tyler Perry dozens of times, and it's one of the reasons why his shit pisses me off so much, because, to your point, and that's part of the reason, Reese, to your point, that's part of the reason, people see people who look like us because these creators, these directors, what have you, say that they're telling our stories. So whether it's fair or not, that's why a lot of people look at a Tyler Perry film and go, oh, that's how Black people are. Yeah. And I'm not even saying that as a joke, but because that is like how his films really are marketed. And, you can get someone, and I think Atlanta's a perfect example. You get someone like Donald Glover who's doing it the right way. He's taking actors and actresses of color, bringing them along for the ride. They elevate their stock, and they go ahead and do that for, other people of color, and do it the right way. That's the difference. And the problem is most people aren't doing it the right way. If they get their own Black business, they may not, support Black businesses. That's an easy one. You can support Black businesses. That's a fucking layup right there. But a lot of people don't do that. I mean, it's a multitude of things. But just as far as our Hollywood representation, I'm so goddamn thankful for a show like Atlanta that is taking on really tough Black topics. I mean, I could go off on the whole Teddy Perkins episode, the whole concept of generational trauma is something that Atlanta hits on multiple times. And I love that because that's a show I can use to talk to people about being a black person and my mental health, because there really aren't a lot of shows, fuck, a lot of movies that even talk about that. Or when we do get representation, we get something like The Help, which is praised because, oh my gosh, black story, and it's like, but it's told through a white lens. And I think that's the other part of the equation that people don't talk about, is that King Richard was written by a white guy, and I was very quick to point that out, especially with the representation of people of color in that in that film, the way Richard's portrayed. It's like, this is coming from a white dude, and there are these elements where you go, okay, this is problematic, but at the same time, what are we supposed to do when we have people of color who are supposed to go like, oh, you'll handle this right, and they do it wrong? I mean, that's something that Tyler Perry's built, let's be real, a fucking empire on, is by devaluing us. So the problem is, if we're not going to even hold ourselves in high regard, what the fuck hope do we have for other people to? So that's one place where we could just fucking start. But that's a multi-layered conversation that, again, would take hours.
Well, I want to get into something else real quick, because Nick, I know you kind of got a lot of experience, just as far as situated in the Asian community and things like that. I think it's with a lot of minority groups across the board. The situation of being the model minority. Just kind of speaking about kind of your experiences there, and kind of more about what you think about the slap, and whether or not do you think it was a situation where Jada Smith looked at Will Smith like Jet Li in Unleashed, where she was like sick him and then unleashed the collar, and then what I mean, something like that.
It's like Longing, Rusted, 17.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she did the Winter Soldier at Bucky. She counted down Homecoming.
Yeah.
She said you better do something about this, or I'm texting August.
So wanted to kind of get your opinion on that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the model minority it's a fucking myth. It's bullshit. It's just this idea that parents of immigrants have, that, hey, if I work hard enough, if I like achieve this much, if I get this kind of money, then I won't be treated as another person. Which, motherfucker, you still are.
Yeah.
Which it is one of those frustrating things, especially because that is used to put a lot of pressure on children of color, especially me. I was pushed to do everything. I was basically Malin Red, which was fucking. I'm still unpacking in fucking therapy.
Fair.
But it is absolutely bullshit that just because you're a famous person of color, that all of a sudden you represent everybody that has ever looked like you. Which I kind of have two minds on that. I think, one, it is a good ideal to have. It's just amazing that that Black Panther, it was this huge cultural zeitgeist thing, because it was this positive black role model. Then little kids going to fucking Party City, buying out all the Black Panther costumes. It is kind of this amazing thing. But you gotta realize that these people are fucking human too. And they fuck up. And Will Smith did it in a way that was publicly televised and watched by millions of people, and is gonna be talked about by millions of people probably for the rest of his life.
Yeah. It's so to kind of bounce back off that. Unfortunately, there are things about being a person of color. Like, I had the cop talk when I was 11. When I was starting to look older. It's like, it sucks. Like, I can't remember if it's Chris Rock or I can't remember which comedian, but it's like, they go being black is like having a second full-time job, and it's like, that shit's true. Like, I fuck my day job, the amount of times I've been told like you're too defiant, or you talk too much, and then a white person does the exact same shit, and it's like, oh, they're inspired. I'm like, goddamn, it's really that's just one example of how that shit will just wear on you. But that's why for some reason the dum-dums, the great people who listen to my podcast, I get it. Why do you listen? But those people, that's why it's like, use the platforms you have to go ahead and highlight, good shit. Like, I mean, that's why something like The Last Black Man in San Francisco, a movie a shocking amount of people still have not fucking seen. Like, I'll try to highlight, great, black representation because it's important. And, to your point, Nick, I'm always praying when like a superhero film like starring a woman or like a person of color comes out, because I'm like, if they fuck this up, they'll put this character on ice for 15 years and go, well, we tried once, which is why Black Panther was fucking horrifying going to the theater and seeing and going, oh, they nailed it, thank God, because
even Shang-Chi going in, I was nervous to get Monday and
dude,
see
I
the
was
box
praying
office.
for you, man. I was like, oh, I hope this is great, and it is, thankfully. But that representation, like the people who go like, oh, why can't Black Panther be white? That's something said from the view of someone who sees someone who looks like them constantly, and that's a luxury that people of color don't have. Which is why, back to the original point, why we look to so many of these actors to go ahead, and inspire us. And I don't think it's wrong to have a property or a film or something like that inspire you, but just like your friends, your family, just understand we all fall short at points, and at some you can't hold like the whole separating the artist from the art. That's a conversation, and we talked about it earlier as far as the whole moving target of how we discuss things. That is something that you as a person have to decide like where that goes for you, because I could still listen to College Dropout tomorrow and be inspired. Do I think Kanye fucking sucks? Absolutely, and he's a fucking monster. But I'm able to go ahead and separate that, because if I want to create something great, everyone needs fuel. And so look up, like, if you have a black creator, or a woman of color or whatever that inspires you, that's fucking awesome. Like, don't take that for granted, because seeing great art, no matter who it is incredible. But just understand we all fuck up. Like, we all fuck up every day. So don't put them on such high a pedestal that if they do fuck up, that ends it for you. Because, I mean, let's be real. Some people still can listen to, watch Woody Allen movies and be inspired by that. I can't anymore. But so,
Some people can still like watch a Roman Polanski movie, or
yeah.
some people can still watch anything with Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, but like don't worship these people, because people let you down. And that's, we're human. That's okay. But just that almost mythical level that we put, celebrities, athletes, or whatever on. Like, be inspired by, be inspired by a friend, be inspired by, a writer that that you're learning from, whatever. Don't look up to these fucking celebrities, because at the end of the day, they don't fucking care.
Dusk, what do you think about the Smith marriage? Just in general. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm glad, as their therapist, I can speak to you on a forefront on their marital situation. No, I follow the Church of Latter-day, none of my effing business. That's what church I fall under. That their relationship is on them, just whatever they want to divulge to the public. I kind of agree with Reese. I think it's a little too much on certain aspects, but that's their choice, and if they choose to do so. But I also agree where Shazam said it best as well, where he said, I thought I stated it as well, and he did even more so. I think it was all a building moment. There were things addressed on that table that were not properly addressed, and it just builds from there. And it builds. And that's what anger is. Anger is a volatile emotion. We need it, though. It's an emotion we need. But anger that festers becomes rage. Or if it becomes narrowed, it becomes hate. And hate festers. And it's very contagious. And it's very heavy. And it builds and builds and builds until all it takes is one last thing. And then all of it culminates and it ignites. And you just have a moment. And you make a mistake. And sometimes it's a big one. And we all make mistakes. We make mistakes every day. And we're lucky if we don't make a mistake once a day. That we're on our A game. But we err. Marriage wise, man, I can't really speak for them, but what I can say is they're there are signs, definite signs that something, both sides are not talking in the way it should be talking.
Yeah, well said.
There is a miscommunication. Or a lack of communication from one party to the other. Maybe one is trying to communicate and the other's not having it. And I can't say which, but if that was not staged and that is Will's anger, I can guess it's still very, very volatile in this time, very still in turbulence. And I hope that gets addressed. I hope something positive comes from this, even though there's a violence to it. And that will never change. There's a violent act happened, and that has tainted his legacy. But I also agree with Reese that I try not to see celebrities at all as like heroes or people, because they're just human beings. They act. Yeah. That's their job. It's their career. They're not a representation of a race. They're just a representation of who they are. Now, how they want to present themselves, that's how they want to present themselves. May not even necessarily be who they are, but I hope something is brought positive from this. I hope that something can be put back together. You can shatter you can shatter glass, but you can still make a stained glass window. You can still pick up the pieces. You can make something from it. I hope that's the case. I hope he just doesn't let it all fall on the ground and just walk away and just let it be damned, because it'll take time, but you can make something beautiful out of it. But at this time, I think unfortunately a lot of communities are venting because they too are hurting, and they too are kind of, things have been building up, and this is just a cocktail mix of timing, place, and like at the Oscars, like as we said, if it was in the back of the Oscars, this would not have been as big as it was. Hell, if it was if it was a day later, and they were on the street, and they on West Philly, and they did that stuff, no one would have batted an eye. They would have laughed. They would have been like, "Oh, yeah, he didn't press any charges. All right, whatever." Well, whatever. They would have moved on from this. It was the wrong time, the wrong intent, the wrong place, and it was just a cocktail mix of it was just all around a bad situation from both sides, from all sides.
That's the thing though. Like when it comes to like things that people have been accused of, it's way different when you're accused and there's not a visual representation of what you're accused of. And I think that's why it's really hitting a lot harder with people. And just last quick thing I'll say on it. Learn what your partner's limits are, what their lines are. Because goddamn, if there's one lesson you can draw from that, clearly they are not aligned. Like I think Nick made the joke in our Facebook group. Like this is like deep water actually playing out. like in real life. Like it's fucking scary, and like it's like funny, but it's not ha funny. It's like y'all like
it's like uncomfortable laughter funny.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where, if you haven't seen Deep Water and you just want a good laugh, it's so good.
It's wild.
Don't I want to watch it.
That shit's wild.
Let me know when you do.
It's not a good movie, but it's wild as well.
If you hold your tongue.
Reese, get yourself a drink. Get some popcorn.
Get yourself some rosé, some popcorn. Have a good time.
Pick up and you're just gonna have a fun time. Don't even take it seriously at all.
Oh, it's so good. Affleck is, but honestly though, like if there is a lesson, honestly learn, like seriously learn your partner's limits, because clearly a lot of stuff that Jada and vice versa are saying about each other, the other party is not okay with, and it's really like so please learn your partner's limits. Like that's like don't just go putting your business out in the street like that. If your partner's cool with it, awesome, but at the same time you don't have to share everything for everyone. Things can be sacred, so
lesson I learned: do not commit a crime on TV. That's always a good lesson.
Correct, sir. You took the of a list of things to learn. Dude, at least that's one of them.
Dude, I say this every fucking Friday at my Command's weekend brief. It's only illegal if you get caught.
Yeah.
I mean, true. Yeah.
And Will Smith, this was today, the breaking news that he resigned from the Academy Board. Now that just means he can't vote. That's all it means.
Yeah, it means nothing really.
It means it's performative apology. That's what it is.
Yeah, well said.
So whether or not because they said they're going to do a formal investigation, they're backed in the Academy is kind of backed into a corner because
what investigation? It's literally on TV.
Well,
go to YouTube. There's your fucking investigation there.
You can watch the shit.
It's just that they're backed into a corner now because they have to come to a decision like, okay, what do we do? How do we punish them? Do we punish them? If we do punish them, but do we have to? Then a lot of people are going to be talking about all the other people who've done way worse, who've gotten Oscars, who've been celebrated there, and a lot is going to be a huge backlash because of that. So they probably don't want to drudge through all that history again. I don't know. I'm not going to play armchair psychologist. A lot of people on Twitter do that with Will Smith. It's like, well, because he had a traumatizing childhood, because his father was abusive, and then that's why it was brought up from that. And it's been brought up.
Good. They're doing white school shooter logic.
Yeah, exactly. That's why he goes to Miami, man.
It's because he's been made the butt of jokes for all these years, and that's why. But I don't know. I mean, also, I don't think another overreaction I see, people say that this is going to be like an attack on comedians. Like everybody's going to attack comedians. Nobody's going to start attacking comedians.
Nobody's going to. Come on. If people were going to attack comedians, you could have done that when Joe Rogan let Brendan Schaub on stage.
True.
I mean,
but that does set a precedent, and people do push things. That's all I'll say.
So I've seen, because I looked up some stories. Jim Jeffries, I looked up this story. He was a comic that was attacked on stage before. He got attacked by a guy. There was another comedian. His name was Steve Brown. He got attacked on stage. He was a comedian. The
difference is, were these guys actually funny? I think is
Jim Jeffries. I know Jim Jeffries.
Jim Jeffries. I love Jim Jeffries. So The thing I will say though is people always do this. Like people always use fill in the blank to justify their bullshit actions. Like can we talk about how even like the first Grand Theft Auto that was a thing? Like this will make more white kids shoot up schools. Like it's always fill in the blank to justify bullshit. So yeah. So I mean, whatever fits the narrative, people like. But at the same time, though, like. Humor is such a hard thing to dissect because it's different for everyone. And that's like one of the first issues right out the box. But as far as how Will moves forward, the biggest tragedy is that we're probably not going to get Bad Boys 4 now. And that makes me sad because I wanted another Bad Boys.
I think Will Smith can come back from
Give it a couple years, he'll do like this whole like soul searching thing, and he'll be back.
Yeah, there's people who've come back from worse.
No, I know that, but I'm talking about Martin Lawrence. He's looking doughy, all right? We need Martin Lawrence. I love Martin, but let's be real. But I'm just saying, he's not looking like that last Bad Boys. Love the last Bad Boys.
I love the last. Same. Hey,
but that stunt double got a lot of work. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, Martin Lawrence did look like he didn't need to put on the Big Mama costume anymore. He can just go straight into the movie. He doesn't even need prosthetics. He can go straight into Big Mama.
The wig, boom.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get Brandon T. Jackson for Big Mama 4.
Fuck! Jesus! No!
Because so with the whole thing of comedians, the reason I brought that up because Kathy Griffin, she tweeted out, "Let me tell you something. It's bad practice. It's very bad practice to walk up on stage and physically assault a comedian. Now we all have to worry about who wants to be next. Will Smith in comedy clubs and theaters." Like I said, I don't think we have to start making a hashtag like comedians' lives matter or stop comedian hate. I don't think that's going to happen.
No, fuck that.
I don't think that's going to happen.
No, fuck that. But hey, unless you're not funny, then you have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, true. Yeah, maybe it'll force them to be.
Amy Schumer keeps getting work, so clearly being funny doesn't matter when it comes
Somehow.
to yeah.
Hey, Whitney Cummings has like 3 Netflix specials, so being funny doesn't matter.
That is a very fair point.
All right. Want to read some crazy tweets and let's end it up because this got some. I got
Bring
some
it.
funny
Bring
ones.
it.
This one right here. If only Will Smith got as upset when white men took away his right to vote. This was deleted. I don't even.
Oh, crap.
Yeah. So I will say it is funny that people are given, like the whole like angry black man narrative, and yet no one's talking about how fucking problematic King Richard is, which which hey, black dad abuses his kids, but they end up being great, so let's brush that abuse to the side.
Yeah.
Champions, like
that was very much a Star Trek moment. Like, you can steal a ship, Kirk, as long as you save the universe at the end.
Yeah.
As long as you save the universe at the end, it's okay, and we'll give you back your rank and everything. But if you screw up, you're going to space jail.
Yeah,
that kind of brings up something that you mentioned earlier, Hunter, in that, we have these celebrities and we have these people in Hollywood who are making quote unquote black stories, and you talked about how there's a right way and a wrong way to do that. And I think the point that I was kind of trying to make is that we need to be given the space to express that black existence is multifaceted.
yes.
There's parts of our existence that, there's violence involved, there's, underrepresented communities. Those are important stories to tell. And then there's the other side of things where it's like, trying to get an education, maybe we're pursuing a career, maybe, we can tell some stories that don't directly involve, let's say, racism or police violence or anything. I just want there to be space for all of our stories to be told.
Agreed.
And I think even if it's something that's, I guess, negative, I think those stories are still valid and still important to tell as well. And I don't think any one particular story should be representative of everything. I think we need to be given the space to show that, what, some of us are like this, some of us are like that. That doesn't mean that we're all one way, but it's important to note that there's so many different facets to our existence, and we want to give you little parts of that so you can kind of get in on what that's about as well. I think the biggest problem right now is that we're so concerned with looking positive, we're so concerned with looking presentable and safe, and it shouldn't be that way. I think that's more of the point I was trying to get across, is that every other race of person gets to have that leeway to be this way or that way, and it doesn't represent them all. But when it comes to us, for some reason, people decide, oh, well, the gangster movies are all of you, and that's not fair. And I think we perpetuate a lot too.
And I don't disagree with that. My issue is, though, is like that's the stuff that typically gets the awards nominations, and then those movies also paint that person as the hero, and that's why I just go, come on, y'all, if you're gonna have this character, be honest about the character. He forgets about one of his fucking kids in the movie. They just leave this kid behind, apparently. We don't even get to see what the fuck happens to her.
You're talking about the one who
just disappears.
They're not perfect, and we don't have to be perfect all the time.
No.
We can have an abusive person who's white in a movie, and, we talk more about that person's performance, and we talk more about, oh, this relates to my story, and I get this, and blah, 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 blah. They're allowed to exist almost in a vacuum. Whereas with us, it's always like, oh, no, we have to make movies that represent us in a way that's positive, or else everyone else is going to think that we're going to be gangbangers, or, it's just...
Yeah.
We just need to be allowed to express ourselves no matter which way, whether that's a story about something that happened in the hood, or whether that's something in an Ivy League college. Like, we just need to be able to show that Black people come in all shapes and forms and sizes, and that's okay.
Yeah,
That was
and again, you're not wrong, but I do think that the certain rule, like the amount of Black people who didn't see the fucking photograph, like that's a Black, romantic movie, but we don't
and that movie's fucking great too.
But we don't see a lot of movies like that even. And as far as people are asking in the chat about abuse. Like, I'm sorry, leaving your kids to potentially get raped when a gangbanger tells you the night prior that they'll rape your children and you leave them in downtown Compton. Like, I mean, that's one example, but yeah. To your point though, we are multifaceted. Like, I mean, that's why something like Get Out, you're like, oh shit, black horror, let's fucking go. You know, like the roles are growing, and again, like I don't have issues with people of color playing piece of shit characters. I mean, that's a whole other but. If you're gonna do that, don't treat them like they're like Training Day doesn't treat Alonzo like he's the good guy in the movie. Like King Richard is basically like, yeah, he's a little rough on his kids, but the ends justify the means, and that's why I just go, no, like that's bullshit. You can
have stories that show us in a way that's imperfect, but we can also hold each other accountable. I think there's room for us to do both things.
Absolutely.
But it's just that people are so far swung onto one side of the pendulum where they're like, well, this negative stereotype represents you all, and it doesn't matter. You need to start showing yourselves in a way that's more palatable to non-Black people, and I think that's wrong. I think we need to keep carrying forward and tell all of our stories, and also hold each other accountable if, let's say, in this case, we're depicting something that was abusive or, what have you. We need to be able to do both. And I think there's just people are not understanding that we can do that.
But that also starts with us holding Black, and again, I'm going to go back to Tyler Perry. Well, but that involves us holding each other. That involves us holding each other accountable too. Though,
that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying we can tell those stories, but it's not without scrutiny. But we just need to be given leeway to tell all of our stories. We can't look at one like Tyler Perry, for example. He by no means does he represent us all, and we can't look at him that he does, and we can't let other people who aren't of our community think that he does. And the onus is just on us. The onus is on non-Black people to challenge their own existing biases and think about why everybody else can be their own individual person and we can't. That's on them. That's not our work to do. That's on them. But as far as within our community, I think we need to hold each other accountable, absolutely. But we also need to give each other the space to tell all of our stories.
Yeah, well said.
I'll leave off on that. That was a great discussion. Great thing, Will Smith. Yeah.